Hi boys, it's time for science. So for today's science lesson, you are going to need both your activity manual and your textbook. For your activity manual, you are going to do page 67, words to know. If you don't have your textbook, you could pause it, go grab your science textbook and activity manual, and I'll be waiting. Okay, so page 67, you're going to see 7 words there, and you're going to find their definitions. Some of these words, no, not some, all of these words we have reviewed in class and even over video, and these are not new, these are just a review. I have set up a Quizlet flashcard activity for this. I was really trying to send the Science Buzz game, but it won't let me do it. You would need a password. It would just be too complicated. So what I did instead was make it into a Quizlet. So do the activities on Quizlet today. Go over your chapter summary. Okay. If you look in the back, there are other ideas that you need to know, page 68, but please make sure that you do the Quizlet, okay? Yes, so what I'm going to do right now is go over the words on page 67. If I go too fast, pause it, okay? So let's go over the words on page 67. The rest do on Quizlet, and you'll be good to go for your test on Thursday. Okay, number 1 on page 67 is producer. What is a producer? A producer makes his own food and gets energy directly from the sun. So plants are producers because they get their energy from the sun. The sun itself is a producer because it makes its own energy as well. Number 2, consumer. And by the way, let me go back a little bit to producer. You find the definition of producer on page 67. So if you want to look it up in your textbook, that's on page 67. I've been telling you in school, and I'm glad that I've been kind of preparing you for this. I've been trying to get you to go back into the book when you're done working or when you're looking for information. So go back to page 66. It's okay. You are reviewing. Number 2, consumer. Consumer gets his energy by eating other living things as food. So people are consumers. Animals are consumers. Every type of animal. So page 67 is what is the page that you will look up to find the definition for consumer. 3, decomposer. Helps break down dead things and wastes. And that's on page 67. Helps break down dead things and waste. Page 67. So examples of decomposers are earthworms, mushrooms. Those are examples of decomposers. 4, food chain. What is a food chain? A food chain is the movement of energy from one living thing to another living thing. And we find that on page 70 of your textbook. Food chain, the movement of energy from one living thing to another living thing. And the picture that we used in the book to describe a food chain was first the picture of the sun. In fact, I wasn't going to draw a picture, but you know how I love to draw pictures when I teach. It helps us understand and see things better. And it's good for review. Sometimes, like, I'm a very visual person, so if I see it, I understand it better than being told. And some of you are like that too, so maybe this will help you. This is a food chain. It starts with the sun. There's the sun. The sun gives energy to a plant. Okay. I'm going to put an arrow here. A grasshopper. Now, I'm not very good a very good drawer. So let's just, there we go. There is a grasshopper. He gets his energy from the plant. The plant gets the energy from the sun. And let's make a snake. The snake eats the grasshopper. So there's an example of a food chain. The sun gives energy to the plant gives energy to the grasshopper, and the grasshopper gives energy to the snake. That's an example of a food chain. It's the movement of energy from one living thing to the other. Okay? Good. Number 5, predator. And by the way, you can find the definition and more information about food chain on page 70. Number 5, predator. Any animal that hunts and eats other animals. So not all animals are predators. Some are, some aren't. Some examples of predators are lions, tigers, sharks, eagles, okay? Those are just some examples of predators. They hunt to eat other animals. Number 6, and that's on page 70 as well. Number 6, prey. Prey are the animals that a predator hunts. So, for example, a rabbit would be a prey. A little mouse would be a prey as well. Small animals usually are prey animals because they get hunted. And the last word on page 67 is food web. And a food web is several food chains linked together. So when we talk about food webs, that's on page 72, and we see how in the center of that food web is the fox, because he eats everything. He gets his energy from the sun, from the plants, from the snake, from everything. He eats it, okay? So that's a food web. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is on page 68. So if you could flip over the page. And it says, all the way at the bottom where it says write about it. Put your finger where it says write about it. This is what I'm looking at right here. Do you see that? Okay. Explain 2 ways that pine beetles might affect a pine forest ecosystem. 2 ways. And we talked about 2 ways on Monday, if you remember Monday's lesson. 2 ways that it can affect the ecosystem. I'm trying to find where I have the paper, so I want to make sure I give you the correct answer. The pine beetle affects the ecosystem by, number 1, making all of the plants, or rather all of the butterflies that live in the pine tree leave, because it would have affected the population of the butterflies. Okay? Another way it would have affected the pine forest ecosystem, is by, oh, here we go. I'm going to read this. 2 ways. The spotted nutcracker might not have enough seeds to eat. It may need to move to another ecosystem. There may not be enough pine needles for the butterflies and moths, and they may also need to go to a new ecosystem. New trees may not grow in place of the pine trees that the beetles kill. All right, so two ways that the pine beetles might affect parts of the ecosystem. Okay, and that will also be on your Quizlet. All right, boys and girls, have fun with the Quizlet. Study hard. I know you're going to do a great job. I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of the work you're doing. Keep up the good work. Wednesday is already midweek, so that means soon this is going to be over and we'll be back in school. And I cannot wait to see you again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.